Is the US at war with Iran? Well, as of this moment, on Tuesday morning, the answer is no. But if you listen, you can hear the drums of war beating, and they have a familiar and uniform sound. What do I mean by that? Well, let's start by looking at The Guardian. They have a live news page titled "Trump reportedly frustrated as he waits on envoy's judgment over Iran strikes." And the reportedly in that headline is key here. If you scroll down through the coverage, there are a number of articles about the US military buildup in the region, including the world's largest aircraft carrier now being stationed in the waters near Crete. But the part of the coverage that jumped out to me was the story that talked about Trump's frustrations, the fact that he wanted a clean, decisive strike against Iranians that would reset negotiations, but that he's being told that doesn't exist. It's all pretty interesting insight into how Trump's thinking, right? But The Guardian didn't do the reporting to get that information. They attribute it to CBS, and in line with best practices, they provide a link to CBS's reporting. So I go to the CBS story to read it. They lay out pretty much the same story, but they cite Axios as the first to report on the president's frustrations. CBS matched their reporting, which is a fancy journalism way of saying that they copy Axios reporting. They talked to their own sources, apparently multiple sources who are familiar with the matter, who spoke under the condition of anonymity, including a senior military official. Now, I flipped over to see who Axios has spoken to, and they said that they cited two sources with knowledge of internal White House discussions. I want to pause here for a second and ask the question, is this reporting false or misleading? Well, it's impossible to say, really. All the primary sources are being kept anonymous, so you essentially just have to trust the reporters. Axios does have a good track record of getting scoops, and the reporter, Barack Ravid, has a lot of high-level contacts that do speak to him. And places like CBS, well, they have journalistic standards and practices that you can have some faith in. When they say they've spoken to high-level officials, they probably have. The real issue here, at least as I see it, is twofold. First, those high-level sources that everyone spoke to, they have their own motives. What they do and don't tell reporters matters. They're trying to shape a narrative, and by obscuring who's speaking, we in the public are handicapped in our ability to contextualize what we're being told. The counter to this, of course, is that would you rather not be told anything at all? And that may be true, but it's also true that folks want their narratives out there. So if reporters in general are less hungry for the scoop and more demanding that their sources go on the record, would that be better? Maybe. The other part of this, and perhaps the more insidious part, is what The Guardian did. They just pointed back to the CBS reporting. They didn't match it themselves. And this is when you see narratives from unnamed sources really spread through a media ecosystem, including, to be fair, what I've done here. I've tried to contextualize it, but honestly, it's not that different. So, as the drums of war continue to beat, pay attention to who's beating them.